I enjoy a little risk when I'm working on a project, a little difficulty. That was undoubtedly present because it was such a significant film to be a part of. The man who went on to become the most famous villain in Hollywood hardly ever performed. When Alan Rickman astonished everyone, he was 26, prosperous, and operating his own design firm. He gave up everything to become the acting school's oldest student. His pals believed he was insane. The same was true of his bank account. However, this late start was only the beginning of a secret-filled life. He almost declined Die Hard. Despite being hailed as the greatest actor of his generation, he never received an Oscar nomination. Additionally, he left behind 26 diaries, with more than 1 million words of secrets from his last days. The narrative of Alan Rickman didn't start on the red carpet. He was born in Acton, West London, Council Estate on February 21, 1946, in the harsh reality of post-war Britain. His parents, Margaret and Bernard, brought up 4 children. It was not an easy life. His father was a decorator and painter. Prior to having to step in and start making money, his mother took care of the house. The family lived in an area characterized by rationing, thrifty meals, and used clothing, surrounded by rows of drab buildings. Alan used to say that every aspect of the outfit was challenging. He also never lost the habit of waiting in line for complimentary lunch tickets every Monday morning. Then the catastrophe that altered everything occurred. His father passed away from lung cancer when Alan was just 8 years old. The loss was devastating. The family's precarious stability collapsed overnight. Margaret became a single mother, managing 4 kids by herself while working 2 jobs. She did everything she could to support the family while working for the post office. She briefly remarried for security, but the union was short-lived. 3 years. Alan was impressed by her strength. He referred to her as a tigress, a lady who never lets life break her. He developed a lifelong feeling of empathy and duty after witnessing her struggle. Despite this adversity, Alan found a way out. His first appearance on a school stage was when he was 11 years old. He played Captain Hook in a nativity pantomime mix. He was transformed by that moment. The stage seemed like another universe. To a boy who lived in a small apartment with used clothing, he cherished the enthusiasm, the acclaim, and the costumes. Acting, he later claimed, provided a doorway into ordinary life. His career was hinted at by this initial position. He would continue to portray nuanced antagonists that viewers would remember for decades to come. Alan found that education was his lifeline. He was awarded a scholarship to attend Latimer Upper School in 1956. The distance from the council estate was immense. The school offered him chances he never would have thought of, resources, and teachers who supported him. However, things weren't always simple there. Alan was a scholarship boy who stood out. He recalled how uncomfortable it was to wait in line for free lunch tickets among more affluent peers while sporting hard-earned uniforms. But he was shaped by this event. It gave him the will to strive and taught him to be resilient. Alan learned calligraphy and acting at Latimer. Both required care and accuracy, traits that subsequently characterized his stage and screen work. Alan didn't immediately start acting after graduating from college. He attended Chelsea College of Art to study graphic design from 1965 to 1968. Long before computers made design simple, he developed an obsession with layouts and typography. He contributed to underground journals and worked extensively on initiatives. He gained discipline and attention to detail during those years, which would eventually affect his performance. He co-founded Graffiti, a design studio in Soho. After graduating, the business prospered. They created album jackets, magazine drawings, and book covers. It was a hive of creativity in vibrant London, full of ideas. Alan was successful by all measures. He led a well-respected career in design and was financially secure, but he had a restless feeling inside. Alan stunned his pals with the decision he made at the age of 26. He requested an audition in a letter addressed to RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. Alan was willing to sacrifice everything for a dream, but most performers begin at the age of 18. He became the oldest student in his class after RADA accepted him on a scholarship. Alan was concerned about his house payments while others were anxious about their grades. Nevertheless, he put in more effort than anyone else and applied his rigor in design to acting. He went from being a graphic designer to a Shakespearean student in a matter of weeks. Outside of school, life also altered. Alan met Rima Horton at Chelsea College of Art about the same period. They started a lifelong romance that lasted for more than 50 years. They led a tranquil life away from the clamor of celebrity. After being together for decades, they secretly got married in 2012. Because of her commitment and tolerance, Alan frequently referred to Rima as a saint. They both greatly respected their decision to forego having children. Alan made a successful transition from design to performing. He departed RADA with honors and admiration. He moved from being the oldest student in his class to becoming one of the most well-known actors worldwide in just 10 years. His debut on-screen appearance was in 1978, as part of the BBC's ambitious plan to film all 37 of Shakespeare's plays. He portrayed Tybalt in Romeo and Juliet. On December 3rd, the first one broadcast. Rickman's powerful performance that evening was particularly noteworthy. The antagonists he would later make famous were alluded to in that Tybalt. However, he shared the screen at the time with well-known figures like John Gielgud and Dame Celia Johnson. He held his own, though Rickman spent the following few years primarily on stage. But in 1982, he was given the part that had everyone staring. In the Baxter Chronicles, he portrayed Reverend Odious Slope. This villain wasn't your typical one. Despite Trollope's cunning, slick, and cunning, Rickman managed to make him endearing. The audiences were unsure on how to react. Despite their hatred for him, they were unable to turn away. A critic even made a joke about ladies falling for Slope rather than the romantic protagonist. That was Rickman's strength. He didn't have a stereotypical Slope, he was simultaneously charming and twisted. Rickman went from being a theater regular to a serious TV star in an instant. However, Rickman spent years honing his technique with the Royal Shakespeare Company prior to all of that on-screen attention. He joined the RSC immediately after leaving the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, and he worked there continuously from 1978 to 1985. He appeared in numerous films, including As You Like It and The Seagull. He practiced every day. He researched breath. He developed emotional self-control. He did more than merely act out Shakespeare. He experienced it firsthand. He also collaborated with titans, Paul Brooke and Juliet Stevenson. These were difficult, but transformative years. Rickman did not simply improve. He went deep. His villains would eventually gain weight from that depth. He understood them, not just detested them. Then, in 1985, Rickman received the role that brought him international fame. In Liaison Dangereuse, he portrayed Vicomte de Velmo. After beginning in the UK, the play made its Broadway debut in 1987, an enormous accomplishment for a British production. Rickman's portrayal of Velmo was simultaneously heartbreaking, brutal, and enticing. He received a Tony Award nomination and shocked New York critics. It wasn't merely a hit role. There was a message. Rickman had the ability to guide and captivate. It also did something else. It led to a call from Hollywood. Rickman's voice, meanwhile, was deliberate. He gave it meticulous training. He employed a method known as the Alexander Technique. A man by the name of Frederick Mathos, Alexander, created it. The entire technique is around breathing, posture, and speaking naturally. Rickman did not mince words. He had more in mind than merely sounding good. He desired authority. His voice became deep, serene, and icy like steel wrapped in silk as a result of that control. Every syllable had impact, whether he was teasing as Gruber or whispering as Snape. Alan Rickman didn't want to play a villain in an action film. He almost threw away the Die Hard script when he read it in 1987. When the London-trained actor saw the script just 2 days into his first trip to Los Angeles, he exclaimed, "What the hell is this? I'm not working on an action film." He had recently returned from a renowned Broadway run in Leslie Donero's, where he played the crafty Vicomte de Valmont. He was drawn to personalities with depth and complexity. His agents resisted his belief that action movies were beneath him. They reminded him that he had just arrived in Los Angeles and was already receiving an offer for a big-budget movie. Not everyone had that experience. Rickman wasn't persuaded even then. To change his perspective, director John McTiernan had to meet down with him and promised to make adjustments to the script. Hans Gruber was rewritten by McTiernan to give him intelligence, wit, and control. He incorporated subtlety, sarcasm, complexity, and strategy. This was no longer only a stereotypical antagonist. It was sealed when Rickman saw that the script also had intelligent, strong black characters, something he described as subtly innovative for the 1980s. It had been close. He admitted, too near. The legacy of the movie would have been drastically different if Rickman had refused. It seemed like something from a movie. How Rickman even got the part.